There is a warning your body may have already given you, one that most people over 70 slept through, blamed on a heavy meal, or quietly dismissed as nothing more than getting older. And by the time it is finally discovered, the damage has already been done. What frightens me is not that this happens rarely. What frightens me is how ordinary it looks while it is happening. I am Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, and after more than 30 years working in internal medicine and geriatric health, I can tell you with complete honesty that the most dangerous heart attacks are often the ones that make no noise at all. You have been taught to expect a single dramatic moment, the hand clutching the chest, the sudden collapse to the floor, the gasp that everyone in the room recognizes. But in the patients I have cared for, especially those past 70, the heart rarely announces itself in that way. It speaks far more quietly than that. And today, I want to teach you its quieter language, so that you can protect yourself and protect the person sleeping beside you. I want you to understand something before we go any further. I am not here to frighten you. There are many voices telling older adults that they could die tonight, that every ache is a catastrophe waiting to happen. That is not how I speak to my patients, and it is not how I will speak to you. The heart is a faithful organ. It rarely fails without first trying to tell you something. The problem is simply that most people have never been taught to hear it. So this is not a video about fear. It is a video about attention. Vigilance without dread. That is the whole of it. Let me begin by gently correcting 3 beliefs that I have watched cost people a great deal, sometimes their lives. The first belief is that a heart attack always arrives with crushing chest pain. For a younger person, that is often true. The classic pain is real, and it is dramatic. But as we grow older, and particularly for those living with diabetes, the nerves that carry pain signals from the heart to the brain become dulled over time. Think of it this way. The alarm bell inside your chest is still ringing exactly as it should. But the wire that connects that bell to your awareness has slowly frayed. The heart is in genuine, serious distress, and yet the pain you were told to expect simply never arrives. This is not some rare exception. Nearly half of all heart attacks in older adults happen without that unmistakable warning everyone is watching for. The second belief is that if it were truly a heart attack, you would surely have ended up in a hospital. But that is not how it works for many people. A great number of silent heart attacks are discovered weeks, months, even years afterward, found entirely by accident on a routine electrocardiogram. The doctor sees old scar tissue on the heart, tissue the person never knew they were carrying. The event came, it passed, and life simply continued, while the heart quietly bore a permanent injury in silence. The person went to work, they tended their garden, they held their grandchildren. And all the while, a part of their heart had been wounded and left untreated. The third belief is the most dangerous one of all. It is the quiet assumption that if you survived something without noticing it, then it could not have been serious. The truth is precisely the opposite of that. An unrecognized heart attack is, by its very nature, an untreated one. The damage was never repaired. The underlying cause, the narrowing artery, the strained muscle, was never addressed by anyone, and that is what leaves you exposed. A first heart attack that goes unnoticed dramatically raises your risk of a second one. And the second event is very often far larger and far less forgiving than the first. This is why learning to recognize the quiet event is not a small matter. It is often the thing that prevents the loud one. So let me walk you through the signs, slowly and carefully. I want you to pay close attention here, because the way these signs work together is the entire point. Any single one of them, standing alone, may mean absolutely nothing. It is the pattern that matters. Keep that in mind as I describe each one. The first sign is unusual fatigue that arrives suddenly and without any clear reason. When the muscle of the heart is damaged, even slightly, it pumps less efficiently, and it delivers less oxygen to the rest of your body. Now imagine the same staircase you have climbed every single day for 20 years without a second thought. One ordinary afternoon, halfway up those familiar steps, you find that you have to stop and rest. Nothing else in your day has changed. You did not do more than usual, and yet your body has run short of something. That sudden, unexplained exhaustion, the kind that does not match your activity, is often the heart quietly telling you it is now working with less than it once had. The second sign is shortness of breath, that comes without any chest pain at all. When the heart cannot move blood forward the way it should, fluid begins to back up into the lungs, and so you start to notice that you are breathing hard while doing the smallest things. Making the bed leaves you winded. Walking to the mailbox and back asks something of you that it never used to ask. These are tasks that once required nothing, and now they leave you catching your breath. That change deserves your notice. The third sign is a discomfort that feels, for all the world, like ordinary indigestion. This one fools a great many people, and I understand why. The heart and the stomach share overlapping nerve pathways, so the brain can genuinely confuse a signal from one for a signal from the other. A heavy, full, burning sensation settles in your upper body, and so you naturally reach for an antacid, believing it was something you ate. But the antacid does not fix it. The discomfort lingers, or it returns, and that is because the trouble was never in the stomach at all. The fourth sign is pain, appearing in places you would never think to connect with the heart: the jaw, the neck, the shoulder blade, the left arm. This is what we call referred pain. It travels along nerve roots that the heart shares with these other areas, and so the ache surfaces somewhere unexpected. It is one of the most commonly dismissed warnings I encounter, because it is so easily explained away as arthritis, or as a muscle you must have slept on wrong, or a strain from lifting something the day before. The fifth sign is a cold sweat, a wave of dizziness, or a sudden feeling of nausea, while you are completely at rest. I want you to hold on to this one. Sweating while you are simply sitting still in a cool room is not normal. It is not a sign of a warm day or a heavy blanket. It is the nervous system responding to a heart that is under strain, activating the same stress response it would in an emergency, because that is precisely what your body senses is unfolding. And the sixth sign is the hardest of all to put into words, yet it is the one my patients remember most vividly afterward. It is a sudden sense that something is simply wrong, an unexplained unease, a quiet dread that has no name and no obvious cause. Many people later describe it as a feeling they could not shake, a heaviness of spirit that arrived out of nowhere. What is happening is that the body is registering real distress, distress the conscious mind cannot yet identify or explain. I have learned over the years never to dismiss that feeling in an older patient. The body often knows before the mind does. If any of these signs sound familiar to you, or if you can remember a time you felt one of them and brushed it aside, I would like you to write the word "yes" in the comments below. It helps me understand who I am speaking with today, and it may help someone else reading those comments to recognize something in their own past that they never understood until this moment. Now here is the single most important rule I can give you, and I want you to remember it long after this video ends. I call it the two-signal rule. Any one of these signs, on its own, can be perfectly innocent. Fatigue can simply be fatigue. Indigestion can simply be indigestion. But two or more of them arriving together, or any of them arriving suddenly and without a reasonable explanation, is not a moment to wait and see what happens. It is a moment to call for help. I say this as plainly as I can. Taking an aspirin and going to bed is the most common fatal mistake I have witnessed in my career. So many people chose to lie down and see if it would pass by morning, and for some of them, morning never came in the way their families hoped. Please do not make that choice. If you suspect that a heart attack may be happening right now, call for emergency help immediately. Do not wait. Do not finish watching anything. Do not talk yourself out of it. It is far better to be examined and sent home reassured than to wait quietly while something serious goes untreated. I must now speak directly to those of you who are living with diabetes, because this next part concerns you especially. Long-term high blood sugar quietly dulls the very nerves that are meant to carry pain from the heart to your awareness. This is the reason that silent heart attacks are dramatically more common among people with diabetes. The warning system that most people rely upon has been gently muted in your body over the years, often without you knowing it. So your threshold for taking these signs seriously must be lower, not higher. What another person might safely ignore for an hour, you should treat as worth acting upon. This is not meant to alarm you. It is meant to give you back an advantage that your condition has quietly taken away. Let me tell you now about a patient of mine named Walter, who was 76 years old when this happened. Walter was a practical, uncomplaining man, the sort who never went to a doctor unless his wife made the appointment for him, and all but drove him there herself. He took a certain pride in not making a fuss. One Sunday afternoon, after a large lunch, he felt unusually tired and a little nauseated. He thought nothing of it. He blamed the heavy meal, settled into his favorite armchair, and napped it off through the afternoon. In the weeks that followed, he noticed he felt somewhat weaker than usual, that his energy was not quite what it had been. But Walter, being Walter, called it age and carried on with his life. Months later, entirely by chance, he came in for a routine electrocardiogram before a minor procedure that had nothing to do with his heart. And there it was, written plainly in the tracing, scar tissue. Walter had survived a heart attack that Sunday afternoon, sitting in that very armchair, drifting in and out of a nap, and he had never known it had happened at all. The discovery frightened him, and I will not pretend otherwise. It is a sobering thing to learn that your own heart was wounded without your knowledge. But I want you to hear what came next, because this is the part that matters most. That knowledge changed everything for him. With the proper medication, with a structured cardiac rehabilitation program, and with a carefully monitored walking routine, Walter did not decline. He grew stronger. His energy returned. His confidence returned with it. He told me something at one of his later visits that I have carried with me ever since. He said the heart attack he never felt was the very thing that finally taught him to listen to his body. The silent event became the reason he lived more carefully and more fully in the years that followed. I want to add something for those of you who may be worried about what happens if damage like Walter's is ever found in you. Please remember what I have explained before about modern heart procedures. They are far safer than most people have been led to fear. The image many older adults carry in their minds belongs to a different era of medicine. If something is discovered, it is very often something that can be managed and treated well. And this is the same principle I described when I spoke about the mini-stroke, the brain's own version of a silent warning that arrives before the major event. In both cases, the body speaks first. It gives a quiet signal before the loud one. Our task is never to live in terror of that signal. Our task is only to learn how to listen for it. So what should you actually do starting today? You do not need to live in fear, and I would be disappointed if that is what you took from me. What you need is to live with attention. Begin with something simple. Learn these 6 signs well enough that you would recognize them in yourself, and just as importantly, in your husband or your wife. Keep the 2-signal rule somewhere in your mind, or even written on a small note near your bed. That is your single most powerful tool, and it costs nothing. And if you are living with diabetes, share these signs with the people you live with, so that they can watch for what you yourself might not be able to feel. Let the people who love you become a second set of nerves for your heart. The heart is a patient and faithful organ. Consider for a moment that it has beaten for you every second of every day, through your childhood, your working years, your quietest nights, and your hardest days, without ever once asking you for rest. It rarely fails without first speaking, in one quiet language or another. And learning to hear that language is not a burden to carry. It is one of the calmest, most powerful forms of protection available to you, at any age, no matter how many years you have already lived. The body has a remarkable ability to respond when you give it attention and the right care, even later in life. You are not powerless in front of your own heart. You are simply learning, perhaps for the first time, how to listen to it. If this was helpful to you, I would be grateful if you would subscribe to this channel and give this video a like, so that I can continue sharing what I see in my patients and help you make wiser decisions earlier, before the loud moment ever arrives. And tell me in the comments, has your body ever tried to warn you in a way that you only truly understood much later? I read every message that is left for me, and your story may be the very one that helps someone else finally learn to listen in time.